Hello, my name is Jo Brett from Starjump's Children's Centre, and I'm here with Sarah Weller from the Weller Way. Sarah is a fabulous parenting coach and couples coach, and I'm going to hand over to Sarah. You talk about the wonderful things that you do to support families to be fully functional.
Thank you, Jo. I'm excited to be collaborating with Starjumps again on presenting these two workshops on understanding PDA. So I am a family relationship and parenting coach, as Jo says, but I've just decided to completely specialise in neurodivergency because that's where my expertise has been building up in the last few years through terms of training and the families that are coming to me. So the workshops are very much based on the latest research on autism and PDA, but also in terms of my training and what I've learned from that and my reading, but also it's about what I am implementing and helping my clients implement in our coaching and the successes that is being achieved from that. And it's very much based on encouraging co-regulation, encouraging building secure attachment, and helping understand the specific needs of your child, which I'm hoping to share some of those things in the workshops.
So we're just going to give a brief overview of the two workshops we've got coming up. We've got a few, whoops, we're on the wrong slide. There we go. So Sarah, do you want to just talk through the slides?
Yes, I will. So the first workshop is about understanding PDA, and because there's although PDA is on the autism spectrum, it presents very differently to autism. There are some shared sort of profiles and behaviours and sort of needs, but PDA is very different because it is a control sort of through anxiety is underlying a lot of the behaviours. And so when we come in from a traditional parenting or sort of teaching angle of sort of authoritarian or control or obeying rules, it's very, very hard for that young person to adhere to that because it takes them out of control. So this workshop is specifically for a parent or carer who's maybe got a child who's recently been diagnosed and wants to understand more. I think also because of the nature of how you are in relationship with a child with PDA, it can cause quite a lot of conflict and disagreement within the wider family. And I know that some of my clients as parents are accused of being permissive. And so it's really helpful, I think, to get a consistency and of the understanding across the wider family. So that's why I'd recommend it for grandparents, adult siblings, or probably anybody really over 16, I think, because PDA can rupture sibling relationships. And I think it would be really helpful for any teachers or educators or support staff in schools and colleges if you've got if you're supporting a child with a PDA profile. And
I'd
anybody
also
else?
add health professionals would also benefit from attending the workshops, because you did run one with us last year, which was incredibly well attended, and from which I myself, as an occupational therapist, and many others on the course also learnt a lot. So I would really recommend this also for any healthcare professionals who might be supporting children and families with PDA, that it would be valuable for them as well.
Yes, most definitely. And I think, even people like perhaps nurses or GP surgeries as well. So our first one is understanding PDA, and so I'm going to be specifically looking at it through the perspective of a parent, an educator, and a young person themselves. So I'm presenting 3 different perspectives, what it's like. And that's on the 4th of October. And it's in the evening, so hopefully, you know, if you're a professional as well as a caregiver, you'll be able to attend. And we will be looking at how it differs in particular to classic autism. And then the second one is about, so, oh, they're all flicking, Jo.
Sorry, that's me. I was just trying to get on the right. Here's the
Oh, so
second one.
can we go back to what the content of the understanding PDA one is? So going back a slide. No, sorry. Going forward us, and next one. Yeah. So if you've this workshop, Understanding PDA, is really aimed at an audience if you found traditional parenting advice and strategies don't work. If anybody's classing your child as naughty or defiant, if you've got you're experiencing frequent meltdowns, challenging behaviour, which is having a negative impact at home or at school. I have to say, actually, with PDA, there's the discrepancy often between the behaviour at home and school, and it's often why it's very different. So I'll be highlighting that and why. And also the second one is particularly going to be addressing ways to connect and build the relationship. Because, as I said, it can cause a lot of disruption in attachment because of the impact of the behaviours. And an awful lot of the parents I work with feel that they're not parenting properly, or there's something wrong with them, or they're not, you know, there's a lot of lack of confidence because there's input from other people saying, you know, you're not being disciplined enough, you're not, you know, you're etc. So the main focus of this workshop is that I'm going to be telling you that PDA is an anxiety-driven condition, as I said, very different to classic autism. We're going to be looking at the research on PDA and all the current thinking, and we're going to be going through the different perspectives. And then we're going to look at why traditional parenting techniques, including behavioural management strategies, don't work. And I really want to encourage everyone to move away from that paradigm of looking for strategies and for a particular diagnosis, because what this workshop is about is really understanding the unique individual needs of that young person. So at the end, we will take a little look at the foundational pillars of what does work. But then the what does work and the sort of approach that I encourage my clients to take is really going to be the main focus of the next workshop. So the next workshop is on the 8th of November, again in the evening, and it's called Strengthening Relationships, because that is the foundation of helping a child with PDA to thrive. So it's about creating a safe environment at safe environment at home and a safe environment at school by understanding their needs. And so we look at things like sensory safety, which is really important, a foundational platform, because we know on anybody on the autism spectrum, there can be a lot of sensory sensitivities and hypervigilance related to that. So a bottom-up approach is to be encouraged rather than the natural tendency for us to try and fix, slap on skills. So we'll work from a top down, but the foundation is creating as I said, safe and trusting relationships. It was what's his name, man from Sheffield Hallam, who said, one of the main researchers and written loads of books, that autism itself doesn't impact an individual. It's the environment that can either the autism can either thrive or not thrive. So his equation is, so I'm desperately trying to remember his name, Joe.
Okay, I'll try and look him up.
Dr. Luke Bearden.
Oh,
Dr.
well
Luke
done,
Bearden.
well done.
Yes, he's got great books, and they're really thin on the impact of anxiety within autism and masking. But his equation is autism plus environment equals outcome. So this second workshop is very definitely talking about adaptations to your environment, and your environment is obviously social and people, but also anywhere that your child is interacting. So that could be, school as well.
Lovely. As part of the workshops, Sarah, you provide a workbook. That's right, I believe, isn't it?
I do a handbook. So we
Yes.
will be there will be you'll have some reference points for afterwards, some resources to use, but also we might refer to some personal reflection during the workshop as well. Yeah, so the workshop mainly is about strengthening relationship through attachment building. It's changing the ways we communicate. So I'm going to be talking a lot about the use of declarative language, which is coming away from demands. So it's imperative language is making a request of your child or asking them to do something, but declarative language is helping a child lead themselves, which helps them feel that they're still in control. So we're going to be looking at that and why that works, and to also look at co-regulation. I'm also going to encourage you to look at your own sensory profile as well. So I think that's really important, because you cannot co-regulate unless you are aware of your own sensory triggers as well. So basically, the workshop in a nutshell, it's not about working on behaviours, it's supporting relationships and nervous systems through soothing the sensory system. And we're going to be looking at the underlying sources of challenges, and very much looking towards working within the strengths and capabilities of your child. So that's on the 8th of November, again at 7:30.
There's time at the end of the workshop to ask questions. Is that correct?
Yes, there will be time at the workshop to ask questions. Obviously, I won't be able to respond to specific children with specific incidents, because I work so bespokely. It's all about understanding your sort of child's needs and their sensory profile. But obviously I can answer any questions on the sort of workshop itself. I'm happy to take some questions on the workshops now, if anyone's got any questions on will we be covering something in particular.
I've posted a question on Facebook Live, so if anyone's watching us on Facebook Live and wants to put a question in the comments, I can ask Sarah. Having worked with a lot of children who present with a PDA profile in sensory therapy at Star Jumps, to say the transformation that can be made, understanding their sensory differences and how to support them with their regulation, and for their families to also support them through using, some of the principles that you will learn from Sarah, is absolutely transformational. It is so wonderful to see a supported child blossom with the right environment. So
traditionally, or traditional approaches towards anxiety is CBT, but we know because of the specific thinking patterns within in autism, CBT can be really challenging and not even possible, because it requires an awful lot of recognizing how you're feeling, which due to interoception that can be really hard for a child. So, and we know that anxiety is not just about thinking patterns. It's stored. Anxiety is stored in the body, but of course, again, challenges with interoception, a child might know. So even asking a child, well, where are you feeling that feeling in your body? They might not actually know. So the latest sort of thinking is that we have to take sort of quite a holistic approach. So, and it's all about integrating the sensory system. It's all about movement. It's all about sort of building up interoception. It's also about strengthening sort of core muscles with that sort of push-pull sensation. All of these things are very regulatory. It's things like encouraging children to swing upside down, lots of things like that, but also looking at the benefits of good nutrition as well, and just looking at the whole sort of environment, which includes lifestyle.
Yeah, and interoception is the perception of feeling from within the body that often, as Sarah's saying, does a child may not have good sensation. So by helping them to improve their body awareness through movement, activity, you can help support that. And some very young children, when you mentioned CBT, Sarah, as well, don't have the language and
No,
understanding to be able to engage in talking therapies. So they need a much more holistic body-based approach to helping them.
because CBT requires a very finely tuned sort of auditory processing system and thinking organization. And we know that there's often, there can be a muddle in that little brain, and it's very difficult to not only what you think you're asking to sort of draw all those thoughts together, then put language to it, then sort of relate a feeling to a thought. It's a huge ask.
Yes, and when a child is triggered into an extreme state of anxiety to fight, flight, freeze type survival response, then you really need to understand that being able to reason or engage cognitively in a rational discussion is not possible. So there are other ways to help a child when they are triggered to an extreme state of anxiety, which can often be the case when too many demands are put on a child with PDA.
Mm.
So we have a question. Would this be suitable for children who are younger than, or for a child who's younger than 5? This sort of workshop would help a child who's younger
Yes,
than.
definitely. I'm not being age specific at all,
Yes,
because it's sort of universal thinking. It's not, you just sort of would adapt for the developmental needs of that child. But yeah, I know it's sort of for any age.
thank you, Sarah. That's really helpful to have an overview of the course. Each workshop costs £45 for the 2-hour workshop with the booklet that comes with it. And if you wanted to buy both workshops at the same time, it's £75. You can find them on StarJump's Eventbrite page to book directly, or if you send an email to info@starjumps.com, we can send you the links that way. So please do join us, and we look forward to seeing hopefully some of you who are watching this or who watch this later on on the 4th of October, which is next Tuesday at 7:30. So it's all online, and it will be recorded. That's another important thing to say. It will be recorded for later viewing as well. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to say, Sarah, before we
No, just
end.
that I'm really looking forward to doing both of them, and I look forward to meeting everyone who's on the workshop. And again, it's great to be collaborating with Star Jumps again.
Thank you. Likewise, it's really great to work with you too, Sarah. So look forward to seeing you next Tuesday and hope some of you can join us. Good night.
Good night.